The year is 1532, and Henry VIII of England is desperate. He needs an heir, and he needs one fast. Unfortunately for him, his wife, Catherine of Aragon, is also the sister of his recently deceased mother. While ladies-in-waiting would have been expected to assist with dressing the queen and generally dote on her, this position was quite a coveted one. It gave Anne access to the royal court, meaning that she would rub shoulders with some of the most powerful people in England. Enter Anne Boleyn, whom Henry had become infatuated with after meeting her at the French court. Accusations of witchcraft were not uncommon during this time period and were often used to explain misfortunes like a failed pregnancy. To top it all off, rumors swirled that Emma had poisoned Anne, though there was never any evidence to support this claim. After failing to produce a son, she was accused of adultery and treason and executed in 1536. When Anne fell from grace, Emma's position improved dramatically. She traveled with him on his various trips and was even given a noble title. But not everyone was happy with her rise in power. One of Anne Boleyn's ladies-in-waiting, Elizabeth Seymour, couldn't resist getting a dig in before her execution. When asked if she had anything to say before she died, she claimed that Henry would soon regret what he'd done to Anne and that Emma was only pretending to be loyal to him. Even Anne Boleyn, upon whose recommendation Emma had secured a position in the royal court, lost her head in the end. Historians debate whether she really caused the downfall of Anne Boleyn, but there's no doubt that Emma Hamilton played a critical role in the events surrounding her. Yes, she did terrible things, but she also looked out for no one. Let's face it, if you survived the Tudor court, you're doing well. Henry may have realized that he'd been duped and that the whole witch episode had been a plot concocted by Anne to get rid of her competition. And if you liked this video, please be sure to subscribe and come back next week for a brand new series on the infamous Mary, Queen of Scots. Thanks for watching. Bye. On the one hand, she abandoned her friend Anne at the worst possible moment, knowingly destroyed her reputation and ensured that she was banished from the royal court. She also took advantage of a vulnerable situation, used her connections to get ahead, and likely stole from the king. On the other hand, she may have saved herself from an unjust accusation based on jealousy and paranoia. She quickly left England, disgraced and likely fearing for her life, and waited until she was pardoned before returning to the court. She spent the remainder of her life in relative luxury and even outlived several of her enemies. She enjoyed the spoils of her new rank and amassed a significant fortune. Some accounts even claim that she took advantage of her close relationship with Henry and stole large sums of money from him. However, these are likely exaggerated by those who simply couldn't stand her. At the end of Henry's life, she was with him when he died, and she was present at the coronation of his successor, Edward VI. Regardless, Henry quickly pardoned her, returned her confiscated goods, and granted her a noble title. Sometime before 1550, she left England and settled in France. There she married a French diplomat, Roger Ascan, who helped finance her lavish lifestyle. Just 3 years later, though, Roger was executed for treason against the French crown. Emma outlived him by at least 6 years and died sometime before 1569. She was even given a position in his court, ensuring that she would remain close by. Accused of witchcraft and poisoning, Emma knew that if she stayed in England, she would likely be executed. So she fled to France, where she remained for the next 7 years. They were also commonly used to attack people with whom one had a personal vendetta. As Anne was trying to secure her position in the royal court, Emma may have felt threatened by Anne's growing influence over the king and decided to make a preemptive strike. Alternatively, Anne, aware of how important it was to the king to have a son, may have intentionally used the accusation to discredit Emma, knowing that Henry would favor her as a result. Whatever the case, Emma soon found herself under siege. With Anne by his side, Henry began the process of breaking from the Roman Catholic Church and establishing himself as the head of the Church of England. His desire to marry Anne, however, meant that he needed to be rid of Catherine. And with Emma in the middle of the drama, things took a turn. While pay was not great and living quarters were shared, the prestige associated with the role was hard to beat. So when Catherine of Aragon's close friend, Elizabeth Darrell, died in 1527, Anne was eager to fill her position. Unfortunately, there was another lady-in-waiting vying for the job, 20-year-old Emma Hamilton. and she's failed to produce a surviving son after 2 decades of marriage. And that's why when he meets Anne Boleyn, a young woman who was once a lady-in-waiting to Catherine, Henry becomes infatuated with her. But their affair quickly turns sour when Anne becomes pregnant, then has a miscarriage. How does she get back in Henry's good graces? By claiming that it wasn't her fault, but her lady-in-waiting, Emma Hamilton, who bewitched her so she could take her place as queen. This is the story of Emma Hamilton, a look at the Tudor court where everyone had something to hide. And Boleyn's story is quite an interesting one. She was born around 1507 to a well-connected family, and by age 14 was employed as a lady-in-waiting to Catherine of Aragon. Emma had also been born into a well-connected family and had served in the royal court since she was 16 years old. Unlike Anne, she didn't need the job. Her father, Sir Thomas Hamilton, was the controller of the royal household and thus made sure that his daughter never wanted for anything. The two women were very different. Anne was married, a mother and well known for her intelligence. Emma was young, unmarried, and more interested in having fun than making strategic moves in the royal court. Nevertheless, the two became friends, and Emma even acted as godmother to Anne's 2 children. But the friendship didn't last long. In 1532, the king was desperate to annul his marriage to Catherine of Aragon because she had unproduced a legitimate male heir. It's unclear what happened exactly, but sometime in 1532 or early 1533, Anne accused Emma of bewitching her and causing her to miscarry. Henry commissioned an investigation into the claims, and 2 witnesses came forward alleging that Emma had called Anne a heretic and said that she was better off dead. While Emma lived abroad, Anne went on to marry Henry and became the Queen of England. But her time on the throne was short-lived. As Henry's health deteriorated, Emma continued to climb the social ladder, becoming one of his closest advisors. But Henry didn't seem to care, and Emma continued to thrive. There's a bit of confusion about what happened next, but we know that Emma didn't stay in Edward's court for long. Despite her controversial actions, Emma managed to escape the gruesome fate that befell many of her contemporaries. So was Emma Hamilton a villain or a survivor? That depends on your perspective. If you ask me, there are elements of both in her character. So what do you think? Was Emma Hamilton a villain or a survivor? Let me know in the comments below.